James, welcome back to F.A.C.E. Thanks for your patience, buddy. How
Hey,
are
Dale.
you?
Good, man. Good to be
Good.
back. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so what's top of mind? Last week's action, especially in silver, put in a pretty negative week. I know you're a long-term guy, but who was selling silver last week, buddy?
That's a good question. I watch the gold silver ratio sometimes because I think a lot of times algorithmic trading really swings it in the short term.
Yeah,
What it looked like was the big switch from being net long silver, trying to get that beta to going net long gold, and so you saw a lot of selling on silver. The GSR ran up to, I think it looked like it was going to 85, but 84 is where we went to. And if you look technically at it, it looks like it could go a little higher.
what
We'll
do you
see.
think? Yeah, I mean, I thought we'd rally out of here, but I think it was pretty decisive. This
Hmm.
might be it, rally about halfway back, but
Yeah,
with all this economic weakness, silver seems to be affected by copper's waterfall decline,
right.
because it's more industrial than gold.
Of course.
Um, do you think that this is part of it, that they're pricing in recession, and
Yeah,
that
I,
includes
I
that includes silver for a while?
I think so. I mean, look, we have, this past week I did a report on it, but if you look at the US banking system,
Yeah,
one
let's
out of
look at it.
four are basically one out of four
Insolvent.
are insolvent if there's a run on their banks. And we've only had four failures or takeovers.
Yeah,
But many outside the United States have been screwed too, Credit Suisse, et cetera.
yeah,
But in that data, within that data, deep in that data, it means if you go looking, you can see that there's GSIBs involved in this. So some GSIBs on a mark-to-market basis, if they have a run, could end up becoming insolvent, and that's a really big implication because GSIBs are part of that G20 agreement that if they were ever to go bankrupt, you'd have a derivative event, right? So ultimately, I think that's where this all goes to toward a crescendo of absolute chaos in the banking system. So
mhm,
yeah, I mean, it's predictable that we'll go into a banking deflation. We'll have banks collapse. You'll have commodities sell off. And then at that point, when they come in and they rescue the system, get long commodities. I mean,
yeah.
it's the same old stuff. Like we saw a similar thing in COVID 2020. The spot market might say the price of gold is worth this, but in
And you
reality,
can't. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. When silver went to 11, and you had to
yeah,
pay about what, five over spot to get it?
more than that. I mean,
Five
it,
dollars over
it went
spot.
down to say 13 spot, and the physical price was low 20s. If you had a good relationship with a wholesaler, maybe you could get high teens, but it only
Yeah,
lasted briefly.
yeah. So we might get a swoosh,
Hmm.
and that would be the time, scale in into the swoosh. You have
Yeah.
any support levels in mind? I'm
So
thinking 23, 22, extreme case 20
I mean,
in silver.
if you're looking in the next month, okay, I mean that makes
S-
sense. I'm
See
looking at
this confluence right here, James?
right. Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yeah. I can see that. I mean, look, you
yeah,
could make a case for it to go back to 18 if we have a deflationary fall, right? And you could have
yeah,
spot silver at 18, and the bullion price is going to be 30, right?
right.
So that I could easily make a case for. Here's what you do. I would assume if you're a trader, if you're someone on this call, you're probably more of a derivative trader than more so a physical one. But what you would do is then you turn and buy whatever derivative you choose, maybe an ETF, and you park the capital in there to get the upside as it swings back when they go bail out the system with infinite burr. And then when the bullion market becomes more reasonable in terms of premium spreads, then you take those funds, take them out and buy the physical, because we're going to go through some charts if you want. I
Yeah,
just want to,
I'd love
yeah,
to see. I get
sure.
bored looking at my stuff.
All right.
That's all I
Let me
stare at.
let me show you my screen then. Hold
All
on.
right.
Let's see here. Okay, so now you can see my screen.
Yeah, the
All right,
gold.
cool, cool. All right, we're
Yeah,
looking at a long-term chart of gold, and I know
yeah,
obviously this isn't log. Let's go log. Okay, so it's pretty stable. 2000 now is used to be resistance. It's becoming the floor. We'll see if it
yeah,
holds here. If we have a dip below, we'll probably get a dip below, and then a resurgence beyond again.
yeah.
So what I want to do is just kind of screen through. I want you to kind of think in terms of this full fiat currency era from, you know, the late 60s when the London
Yeah.
gold price rig failed, and then everything went free floating with currencies, and you saw the 1970s bull and bullion.
Yeah.
We have a
Look
similar
left,
situation.
guys.
Yeah, we have a real similar situation developing now, but with a huge mix and difference with terms of technology involved. And the forces that are trying to push us into a new system with CBDC, et cetera. But the currencies don't lie. The fiat currencies are devaluing. And that's ultimately the biggest picture here. I mean, gold and silver, ultimately, all fiat currencies are going to bow to them both in various ways. So I want to go through some charts so you can see on a yearly basis, year to year, and get a better feel for, taking your US dollar glasses off for a minute and thinking this, because gold is a global market. The US dollar might have a lot of influence in terms of short term with derivative swings and such, but in the physical market, ultimately, that's what's going to win out. The rest of the world dictates what's happening physically.
And gold has really performed in probably against the yen the best, right?
Yeah, we're going to go through a bunch of charts, and
Okay.
you're going to see why the Swiss franc and the yen are going to bow eventually in time too. And we'll go through that, and you'll see it. I mean, a chart tells a trillion words. You know, I don't need to tell you much. You're with your eyes, you can tell. So here's the yearlies, right? Obviously the blue is a positive year, and the red is a negative year, right?
Yes.
This is in fiat US dollars. We're gonna kind of fly through these because there's a lot of them. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next major. It's just the euro. Let me get that a little bigger here. One sec. There we go. Yeah. Okay, there's your euro. I mean, that's up and away. It's off. It's off and running now. Yeah. I mean, maybe you'll get a negative red bar at some point, but right now it's just blue bar after blue bar. We're going to the Japanese gold, right? Like this is one of the weirdest currencies in the world. Obviously, that carry trade was huge. I think it was used to suppress commodity prices in the 90s and 2000s. I don't have evidence for that, but that's my hunch. We'll go through some reasons why later, but this is in gold. You can see the cup and handle just bust out. The yen, obviously people try to short the yen forever, right? I mean, and it's been a widowmaker trade, right? But ultimately the yen's going to devolve and then just explode in terms of, wait till you see the silver chart in this. It's one of the biggest clownish charts in the world. And I wouldn't even bring the platinum chart and the Japanese yen platinum chart. It looks like it's getting ready to break out. And so their silver chart is the most repressed, most depressed looking one. But when you look at it, it just screams value. Like silver has to go back to its 1980 high in yen for sure. And it's like fourfold away from that, like 3,500 yen for an ounce of silver. And I think the record is like 12 or 11,000 high in 1980.
So should I move to Japan and buy my silver from there, bro?
Here's the problem. I've heard this from people who live in, the expats that live over there. They say it's near impossible to find silver. There's like a lockdown on that market. You can only get platinum or gold in Japan. Like literally, silver is like a taboo thing you cannot find. So no, I don't think it's going to work, that arbitrage.
Okay. All right. Well, save me an airplane ticket. All right.
So we're going to move on to the fiat yuan, right? I mean, you can see it's busting out of a cup and handle here. And the Chinese yuan, it's the weirdest currency in the world. I mean, they could be letting out, they could use that as a release valve in the future, and it could really take off. British gold, I mean, look at the fiat, not sterling pound. I mean, it's off and running, cup and handle bust out. We're going to move on to Indian, which is very important because India buys a huge amount of gold. But here's the issue with India. I mean, obviously there's an elite of really wealthy people there who can always afford gold. But in terms of the middle income, a lot of people in the middle class that it's growing, I think a lot of them are going to start switching to silver because it's the poor man's gold, right? It does more or less the same stuff with a little higher upside. So I think you're going to start to see a thrifting in terms of a few things. You'll see a lot more gold-plated silver jewelry. That's going to become more of a trend there. So people will have stuff that looks like gold, but it really has 3 or 4 microns of gold layering on top of it. And it's really silver. That's going to become very, very, I think in the next 5-10 years, it's going to be a major growth sector in India. And then secondly, you're just going to see farmers buying silver.
Junk becomes valuable.
Yeah. And the issue with them is they kind of spit on silver. They think it's like, that's beneath my caste. That's beneath my class. Right.
Oh.
But ultimately, through their eyes. I think the internet's going to change a lot of that. I think people are going to realize what a fallacy that is, and that silver is an important metal, and it's a great piece of jewelry. And I think middle class women on YouTube, if you go look, like there's all these trendy YouTubers in India who are selling silver and in both their local languages as well and in English. They pump it and they go to markets and they show all the different products and stuff. So it's pretty trendy right now.
Okay.
So we're going to move on to Canadian. I mean, off and running, similar story, cup and handle bust out. And here we go. All right. So we're going to go back to silver. I want you to see silver in the fiat US dollar. Obviously, it's a cup and handle, but it's a slow one. We've taken forever to try to get back to 30 and then get beyond 30. Getting beyond 30 into the mid 30s is like the most important thing. Will that happen this year? I don't think so. Will that happen next year? Probably likely, because by then I would assume they're going to have to start cutting and you're going to get burr. But in between here to there, we're going to go through some hell, I think, with these banks and such.
We have these inside months, so, one of the most bullish thing a market could do after an inside month, and I'm thinking your last candle is at May that we're in right now.
Let's see here. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
So we take. I don't know if this could happen, but the most bullish thing would be for it to take out this month's low, and I don't think so because we weren't at 20 this month. It's a quarterly chart or something.
That's an annual. That's for 2023. That's a high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's an inside year.
Yep.
Wow. So the most bullish thing would be next year to take out 20 and then and then start trading above 26. That would be you start to see that. You start to see that candle moving upward, right? Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna move a little
charts.
Yeah. These are they're just clean. Let's move on to the euro. You can see the euro is starting to do what you're talking about, right? Exactly, right? It's starting to move upward, right? Let's go to this is the one that's so strange, the fiat yen, right? Look at how suppressed silver is in Japan. And that's why I was laughing about the arbitrage play, right? I mean, look at how high it got in 1980. And that eventually the yen will devolve and it will devalue so much that the silver price in Japanese yen will be 11,000. And you'll look at that chart and you'll think, oh, it's cup and handle breakout for like 5 decades,
Yeah.
That's where we're headed. So just if you have a long-term horizon, you park a percentage of your portfolio in this stuff and just forget about it. Here's the Chinese, silver and the yuan. Silver in China has a huge VAT. It's really more of an industrial metal. I think they charge something in the teens, like 14, 13% VAT on it. So it's not really, they go for gold more so. India is more so the silver gorilla. Occasionally, like last year, they bought over 300 million ounces. Right now they're swamped with too much inventory. So there's a discount in the market and they're not importing as much, but they'll come back. Just wait a minute until you start to see more demand again in silver, and they'll come back and produce larger deficits in the overall silver market. So this is silver in Great Britain. You can see, we're right on the cusp of a cup and handle breakout. And if you look back to the 1970s fiat experience, you look how cheap it was in the early 70s, like $1, and it busted all the way up to 20. So you're talking like, in terms of pounds, you're talking like a 10-20x. And so my hunch is before this is all said and done, you're going to see probably a 10x. You probably see fiat silver and fiat pounds. I'm sorry, silver and fiat pounds will be probably a couple hundred, maybe 200 before it all peaks and dives down and consolidates. But ultimately, that's the type of energy that's being stored here that's waiting to explode. And this is Indian silver. You're starting to see a breakout.
Yeah.
A few more charts, bro. We're almost done.
Oh, I'm enjoying it.
Good. Canadian.
Yeah. Very, people they only take a look at these metals in terms of their own currency. And they need to, you need
to put on different color
across the board.
Different color glasses, and you need to think in terms of how the world works in terms of the physical market, who's buying what and how much volume. And
how are premiums now, James? They coming in, or is still a tight physical market?
It's still pretty tight. Let's see, I was looking today in a wholesale desk. I was thinking about arbitraging and selling some silver eagles and buying lower premium format. and then maybe buying some platinum because platinum's starting to look pretty attractive and it's starting to
pulled back pretty good.
Yeah.
Just between you, me, the bird, and anyone else who sees this, a guy I respect thinks that platinum could revisit 800.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that.
No, I completely agree. If we have it like we talked about, a deflationary commodity price sell-off, certainly it could. It could.
Well, I think if it's going to happen, it should start happening now into July.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone thinks that the big break and the financial problems are in the fall.
Mm-hmm. It happened
that
before.
you could, right. You just, everything's okay till the middle of the year, and it's the back half you have to worry about. I think you have to start worrying about things right now.
Right. I think you're right. I think that's how you get ahead of the trade by being ballsy and going ahead and making it, presuming that it's going to happen, and cut your losses if it doesn't.
I like the platinum, James, because I've been around long enough where I remember it trading at $1,000 premium over gold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, I didn't even bust out the long-term platinum chart, but I got one that goes back to like 1900. And I can get it in gold charts or else, but give me a minute. I'm going to finish these last slides for silver and gold, and we'll go to it. Look, this is on the far left of this chart. You have fiat currencies versus gold since 1971. Obviously, the two that are in point blank in the aim of gold right now are the Swiss franc and the fiat Japanese yen. Swiss francs lost 91% roughly. The yen, what is that? Negative what? 95%? They're both headed to negative 98% at least before this is all said and done and we move into something else. I think those two, definitely the yen was used to help suppress commodity values. I think during the 90s and 2000s. Again, I don't have the
Swiss used to be considered a safe haven.
Yeah, it was the last one that actually had official tying to gold. I think in the mid 76, 77, they kind of cut it off, like any last vestiges. It was the last currency that had any vestiges to gold at all. So here's the point of this. Obviously, the fiat currencies are going down versus gold and silver. They're going to both bow to it. The point here is if we have an analog, it would be back in the 70s where we had this huge cup and handle breakout for gold where that arrow is pointing, the red arrow. It finally busted out and it went to its mania phase.
Right.
We're on the cusp of that. We're going to have probably a year or two before we really explode higher than 2000. We go to 2500, et cetera. But that's the sign that you're now in the mania phase. And when you're in the mania phase, what ends up happening is people go to gold and then eventually they go to silver. And that huge gap between the two starts to pull and come closer. If you look at the late 70s, I know some of you people out there might be thinking, oh, the Hunt brothers did all that. That's bullshit. That's not true. If you go and do the actual research, the Hunt brothers were a portion of that market, but they were not the ones running the silver market. All commodities exploded in the 1970s. Every one of them. And silver and gold exploded. And Hunt brothers were a nice scapegoat. It was a nice story. And they were easy to tar and feather. But ultimately, it's the force of the market that made that happen. Silver will mine that gap. It will close on gold when this happens. And it's just going to be one of those most volatile things ever. So if you're trading silver, you do it in a longer term fashion. Don't try.
You know what marked the top up there? You know what marked the top up there? And first of all, was Afghanistan, the Russian invasion of Afghanistan. And it was COMEX changing the rules, raising margin and making it a liquidation only market.
Exactly. You couldn't go long.
So be aware in markets, rules can change.
Of course.
Do you think there's going to be bail-ins, James?
I do.
You're a smart guy.
I do think before it's all said and done, there will be. I mean, there'll be some form of that. I don't think it'll be huge because they bail out virtually everything now. But it'll be an example that they can turn and say, well, now we have to do this because people are losing money. Sorry, and so we have to do these different types of measures, course. But hey, people are taking haircuts, so shut your mouths,
Yeah. How about this? That they limit you to the amount of cash you can withdraw.
Oh, that's definitely going to happen. Oh yeah, for sure. What's going to happen for sure is they're going to lower the AML threshold. I think right now it's 10,000 for US dollars, but in Europe it's like 1,000 for euros. So if you walk in somewhere with like 1,500 to pay for something like a dishwasher, say, and you want to pay 1,500 euros, they're going to AML and then like they're going to report you to the to the powers that be. I mean, it's not necessarily the powers that be are going to come after you, but they'll have that document to track and say, oh, well, maybe we should do a little bit more due diligence on this person and find out if, it's worth going after him for tax evasion or, whatever they're going to make up. I mean, that's ultimately what's going to happen in the United States, I believe, because you're going to have CBDC introduced.
Right, it's going to just go there.
Totally. They're going to want clampdowns on tracking everything. So cash is not going to be outlawed, but cash will be constricted in terms of the ability to track and trace. So yeah, my expectation is that the AML laws will lower down to 1,000. And if you go anywhere and move 1,000 in cash one way or another, that's going to be the ultimate threshold, I believe.
Wow.
So the platinum chart that you wanted to talk about real quick. Let's look at this. It's really long term. Hold on, Nick Laird's chart. Nick Laird's website is kind of a mess, so doing it on the fly is always a pain. 1 second. Platinum versus gold. Hold on. This thing.
Should I move to Grand Cayman?
Oh, hell no. You don't want to be on an island. That's the worst idea. No.
Really?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to be on mainland, man. You gotta be able to get in a car and drive.
All right. All right. It's interesting. A lot of people look at islands like havens.
No, I've been to Puerto Rico. It's dysfunctional. Cayman Islands is expensive. Air conditioning, super ripoff. I mean, it's no good. All right. So here's the one you want to look at right here. All right. Here we go. All right. So you can see since 1880, right? You got to remember back here, human beings were so stupid. We didn't understand how to get a fire hot enough or how to, we weren't alchemizing platinum well enough or understanding it. But once world wars came about, we started figuring out, holy crap, this stuff's good for building really great things in military and such. And so platinum just went into a premium, and it stayed in a premium until we've gotten into this monetary mess that we've been in since the GFC.
Yeah.
But ultimately, on the long term, platinum and gold to be near 1-to-1, that's normal, I think, because we still don't understand platinum fully. I still think that we're kind of cavemen in what we can do with platinum. And if we're trying to go interstellar, if we're trying to do things that are big, right? You need platinum, you need gold, you need silver, right? All these things are big.
They're actually strategic metals, aren't they?
Yes, totally. I mean, militarily, the United States government admits that you've got to have them if you want to have a badass military or if you want to do things interstellar like. So to me, this idea that platinum at 1,000 is not good long-term value, I think that's short-term thinking. I think ultimately, if you look out a decade or two, $1,000 platinum will be looked back as $200 gold, $250 gold, right? It'll just be one of those things where I should have loaded the boat on some of that,
Yeah.
That's it.
I tell you, another eye-opening interview. Some great charts, taking a look, at things through other currencies. This platinum chart, it's interesting. All the cup and handles that are out there. It looks like 2020, maybe late 23 and all of 24 and 25 could be like the 70s on steroids.
Right. And it's also, you got to throw in the mix of technology. Think about all the change that's going to be coming with the CBDC systems. They're coming. I mean, the BIS is working hardcore on that. Not just the retail ones, not just the ones that are going to jam on your phone and hand out stipends to people so they don't riot in the street. But they also have the MCBDC system, which is the back end. That's the other half of the currency settlement system. MCBDC is the market CBDC. It's basically what the central banks and the blessed, not bankrupt commercial banks will be using, and any other major businesses. So internationally speaking, there will be opportunities for international trade, and the US dollar will not be in the middle of that. They'll just do it directly. So what does that mean? That means long-term secular bearish US dollar, right? Yeah. When you have a system come on like that and it grows with technology, it goes quickly, right? It can happen very quickly. So the world can change in a blink of an eye in a matter of like 3, 4, 5 years. And you look back and think, whoa, that's a different world. That's right. And the things totally changed. The paradigm's different now. Hopefully, you didn't get caught, looking at the lights and get slammed by it. But you have to know that's coming. Those forces are in development. They're real, and they're coming this decade into next.
Yeah. Anyway, I wish I didn't know about it. Thanks very much, James.
Mhm.
You know, it's always great to talk to you. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us and giving us food for thought every time you're here, buddy.
All right, Dale. Well, it's a pleasure, man. And if anybody's out there who's listening, you want to follow my work, it's at SD Bullion YouTube channel. I do every week on Fridays, I do a market update. So we do a lot of charts, a lot of data stuff. So if you're left brain, you'll probably enjoy that. I try and keep it fun and satiric and make some good wisecracks here and there. But I keep it dry. I don't get goofy or anything like that.
There are rumors out there that you've modeled your interviewing style to me.
You're my mentor.
Don't choke on your coffee.
You're my mentor.
Anyway, you know who my model was?
Who was that?
Mine was Ted Baxter.
I don't know. I gotta look him up.
Remember Ted?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, Google Ted Baxter and you'll see.
I'll get a laugh out of that, I'm sure.
All right. So James Henry Anderson, everyone, and you could follow him on Twitter at James Henry and follow him. He's open to taking your questions about anything in his arena, and great to have you part of our intelligence gathering. Thanks so much, buddy.
Thanks, Dale. It's always a pleasure talking with you, man.
My trading warrior brother, James Henry Anderson. Good hunting, man.
All right, bud. Cheers.
All right. That's a wrap, everyone. You could join the team in 15 minutes on the Morning Edge. Hi, Mandy. How are you? You're welcome. Everyone's thanking you, James.
Oh, cool.
All right. So everyone, good luck today. See everyone tomorrow. Don't just count your coins and bars. Count your blessings and try and figure out a place to go other than an island. All right. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.